Loco crazy. Welcome to the Missionary Position podcast. Our title today is Could You Be Called? One in 5 people on earth don't have a Bible in their own language. It's estimated by the Joshua Project that 42% of the world population have never heard the gospel. Missionary stats show decline in missionaries around the world over the last couple of decades. In 2001, there was over 1 million missionaries worldwide, and in 2021, the number was 430,000. 71% of missionaries leave for preventable reasons. Estimated that 12,000 missionaries leave the field every year. Nearly 50% serve 5 years or less. Zane Pratt, a missionary to Asia for over 20 years, said, "The missionaries of old left for the field without much hope of ever seeing their families again, sometimes packing belongings into their own coffins. They would sail for months expecting hardship and even death for the sake of the gospel." Their perseverance in the face of suffering laid the foundation for the global expansion of the church. The current Western climate encourages entitlement, resentment, and fragility rather than great perseverance and sacrifice. There is a podcast released last month by Kirk and his son James asking, "Has the church failed at mission work?" They said there's something sacred about missionary work and it's very different to a desire to travel. James said one is for you and one is for God. And if we're doing it for the experience rather than the mission that God has called us to, why are we doing it?
But I think that there's something sacred about missionary work. And it's very different than just a desire to travel.
Of course.
Yeah, one is like for you and one is for God. And if we're doing it more for us and what we get out of it, and the experience that we get out of it, rather than the mission that God has called us to do, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
Why don't you just go and travel?
Yeah, because you can't afford it, but your church could send you.
Yeah.
They'll foot the bill. Wow, this is heavy, James. This is heavy. I mean, but it's also fire. We've got to talk about this.
They put it down to an allure of travel. People love to see new places and meet new people groups, and I agree with their stand. In my naivety, I asked someone from the Doulos Hope ship, which is currently traveling around East Asia full of young, vibrant, short-term missionaries. I asked them, "So when did you get the call?" And they looked at me blank. So I said, "When did you get the call to be a missionary?" And the blank stare turned into bewilderment. Andrew, my husband, said, "She means what made you join the ship?" And this person answered, "I really wanted to travel, so I thought, why not do it in a safe Christian environment? I can see many places, meet different people, and do some good charity at the same time." That's not what I meant, but I realized not everyone doing mission work has been called to mission work, especially in this modern day of wanderlust and wanting to travel. This is a different position from what I experienced as my call. And yet there's nothing wrong with this position if your heart is obedient and humble to being called. I know an amazing lady called Gina who wanted to travel and came to stay with us on her time abroad for a week or so. And we made sure to give her an experience of mission work in which she thoroughly engaged and used her personal gifts and talents here in our ministry. When Gina was staying with us, she received an offer in the UK to join a ministry, also using her talents and gifts to spread the gospel. While staying with us, she wondered if she should join. She didn't feel adequate, and like her Christian walk hadn't been long enough. And I told her, God is never going to say no to you doing something for his kingdom, especially when it uses your gifts and talents that he's given you to save the lost. Whether you're whole, broken, or the longest Christian in the charity, she was debating, should I become a missionary in schools in England? Why are you asking God that question? Do it broken, I told her. This is one of my life mantras that's got me through so much loss, suffering, hardship, and battles on the mission field with God. Do it broken. That's where God's grace gets to shine. If you wait until you think you're ready, God will have to destroy your pride before he can use you effectively. He will use you, but you'll probably leave many people hurting in your wake. Gina went back to England and joined that charity. And our church here in the Philippines supported her. Then a few years ago, she left that job to become a full-time missionary in a country very close to Kazakhstan, learning the Dari language and wearing local clothing, eating their food and writing newsletters with prayer requests for the lost to be saved in very delicate situations. She said she felt a call when she came to visit us for that week. We had no plan to try and make her become a missionary, but we just loved her and allowed her experience missionary life with us and use her talents in that area. So the motive really matters. Your position as a missionary matters. But God can take an experience and a misaligned motive and use it to call you. Could you be called? Here are some signs that God might be calling you to missionary life and how to prepare. Have you ever felt that tug in your heart that says there's more? Maybe you're wondering if you're meant to serve across the world in places where Jesus isn't yet known. In this episode, we'll explore the signs of a missionary calling and what you can do to prepare if that calling might be yours. I remember George Verwer coming to speak at Tees Valley Community Church when I was a young girl. He took an offering for his mission work and I had no money, but I had a ring. And I put the ring in the bucket at the front and said, God, this ring is an example of my life. I'm giving you my life for missions. I want to partner my life with you and do what you've called me to do. What a missionary call feels like. Discontent with the ordinary, or holy restlessness. When I was a young girl, I wrote journals about being a missionary. My prayers were for China. My walls in my bedroom were covered in posters for China because I wanted to be a missionary in China. My heart was to move and not settle for the ordinary British life, as beautiful as that is. I am not a travel person. I get car sick, I don't like airplanes, and I love British food and British life. And I love snow. But God called me, and the obedience to that call supersedes every comfort, selfish desire, and national cultural norm. Another sign of a call could be a passion for cultures, languages, and the unreached. Maybe you're amazed by foreign ways of life. If you're interested to learn about people groups, my husband was brought up here in the Philippines and can speak the national, local, and understand another dialect. His mind is open to learn languages. But not just my husband, me and my children also speak the local language, and some of my children the local dialect is a key asset in your call to be a missionary. Maybe you have an increasing burden for people groups or a specific nation. I was obsessed with China and rice fields when I was young. I had pictures of rice fields all over my walls, but in England we have no rice. We don't grow rice. It's very unusual. And now I live not in China, the Philippines, but I am surrounded by rice fields and have many church leaders and friends and community that farms rice. Maybe you have deepening prayer life focused on the lost. This is also another sign of a call to be a missionary. You can also receive confirmation through scripture, dreams, and other people speaking into your life, which will confirm the call. A 2024 Barna study shows the rising interest in global service paired with faith-based action. Missionary life is trending, not just as a task, but as an identity. Many Gen Z and millennials are leaning towards purpose-driven life. You don't need to be perfect or have a seminary degree. Missionaries aren't all evangelists. God uses teachers, techies, medics, mums, creatives, people in sports, people in music. And it's not always about going far. Your mission could start locally. We run New Love Missionary Training Center here in the Philippines, and our mission is right on our road. We do our mission trips right here in the Philippines, and our students get to witness different languages, culture, and ways of life right here in their own nation. You're not too young, you're not too old, and it's not too late. Preparing for the call. The encouragement is to start where you are. Serve in your community or your local church. Make your church aware that you're interested in missions. Last month, I went to England alone, and I'm a mum with 5 kids, many church leaders and people always around me. I'm a very busy person. So I thought, wow, I'm going to be traveling alone on the plane. I'm going to watch movies, which is like a phenomena for me at that time because last July, we had a terrible storm which has destroyed almost every tree in sight and took down every electric and internet pole. So up until September, we still didn't have internet. When I got on the plane, I was hit with a terrible bout of food poisoning from the plane food, and I was non-stop vomiting. By the time I got halfway in Dubai, I was too weak to carry my hand luggage, and I didn't know if I could continue the journey to England. I felt so ill. When I got on the next plane, I felt like I wanted to die. But I was sat next to an Indian girl and I was just overwhelmed with a love for her from God. So before the plane had even taken off, I shared about Jesus to her. She was traveling abroad for the very first time to the UK, and she was going to stay with her Indian girlfriend in England and finish university in Newcastle. She was really nervous and her English was weak, but so is mine at this point. We exchanged contact details and I told her I'll be praying for her. Just before the plane set off, someone said I was sat in the wrong seat and they moved me. They sat me next to a man from Myanmar. It was also his first time to leave Myanmar, and in the same way, he was going to university in Newcastle. So I started again. I shared the gospel, showing him how to read the Bible in his language on his cell phone in the Bible app. We exchanged details. Both these people told me I was their first British connection. I was just going to England for 1 week. I'm praying to God that every connection they have in the UK is God sent, because I'm not exactly a great representation of a typical British woman. I'm extremely Filipino now. But the primary importance is, will you do mission wherever you are? Don't say, I'm not in the Philippines now, so I can have a break. Meanwhile, I'm vomiting until I'm so weak, all I could do was share God's love to them. I didn't drink on the second flight, but I shared living water with the 2 foreigners that I met. Another way to prepare for the call is to learn about missions. Follow organizations like OM, OMF, NLMTC, our Missionary Training Center. There's many places you can follow and learn about mission life. Connect with a mentor who served or currently in missions. I shared in my first episode how I went on my first mission trip to Kazakhstan when I was 14 years old and how my life was changed. It confirmed the call in me that I wanted to be a missionary. I remember meeting that lady and her husband, Jeff and Muriel Chad, and their life inspired me until this day. I remember they came back to England for a church camp or maybe to preach in England and raise support. And I saw them there at this church event, sitting outside of a tent, drinking tea, eating cake with all the other British Christians. And when I saw them, I thought, nobody knows. No one knows the cost of what your life is like in Kazakhstan. Nobody knows what you're really doing there unless they've visited. Right here, right now, you just look like a normal British Christian having fun at your church outing. But really, the cost of what her life was will never leave me, and she's my inspiration right until this day. Get into spiritual shape. Prayer, Bible reading, weekly fasting, and dependence on God. God is your source. When I was in high school, every Friday we would fast our lunch and give our lunch money to a charity so we could experience some kind of hunger, so that we would identify with countries that didn't have enough food for the day. That small feeling of hunger is nothing compared to what people have to endure, but it gave us a practice and a mindset of what it's like to give up your money and your food for just one meal and pray for the people who have less than you. That's part of learning how to be called. Start saving now and live simply. Use your money for other means, other people and other needs. Do short-term trips to test the waters. Come and visit us here and experience missionary life. It's hot, it's hard, and it's real. What if you're scared or unsure? Everyone God calls has fear. Abraham, Moses, Mary, and Paul. They all experienced some kind of fear and worry. But the truth is they all fulfilled God's calling on their lives. Don't wait for 100% clarity. Obedience often comes with risk. Like I told Gina, will God ever say no? It's literally his mandate for us. He will never tell you don't be a missionary. Jordan Groom said, if God calls you to be a missionary, don't stoop to be a king. If God is stirring something in you, say yes to the next step. Send us a message. Gina visited us for 2 weeks or less than, and it fundamentally changed her life. Rocco lived with us since high school and wanted to be a professional CPA to make money. And now he's on the Doulos Hope as a full-time missionary. Our NLMTC students and leaders are incorporating ministry and mission work into their everyday jobs, sharing the gospel, praying for people in the worst of conditions. Don't stoop to be a king when God's called you to be a missionary. Surround yourself with people who call out the gold in you. Do you feel called? Maybe you're already being called and just need to hear this message. Start praying and asking God what your yes looks like. If today's episode stirred something in you, don't ignore it. God called me to do things I didn't feel qualified for, just like this podcast. I almost said no until I realized he wasn't asking me to be qualified, just willing. God doesn't call the qualified, he calls the willing. Whether you're meant to go, send, pray, or support, you have a part in the Great Commission. Start asking yourself the hard questions. Start saying yes to the small things. And if you're already in motion, keep going. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Until next time, stay obedient, stay bold, and remember to keep your heart in the missionary position.